Tonight, the spring fire continues burning at 93% containment, but we're taking a look back to see if more could have been done to prevent this massive disaster.
Now, the conditions were just right. A forest overflowing with fuel, winds gusting across the area, temperatures around 100 degrees. All it needed was a spark. News 5's Sam Kramer on the ground for us throughout that fire. He's back in studio tonight with this special report. Sam.
Yeah, it was only a few weeks ago that the nation's top firefighting priority was here in Huerfano County. Nearly 1,700 firefighters doing all they could to bring a mammoth fire with at times 300-foot flame lengths under wraps. But during that firefight, just about every factor in play worked against them, including the lack of mitigation around properties, as 80% of the fire burned on private land.
Off Highway 12, just north of Cuchara, lies the Pine Haven subdivision, where John Ford and his family have owned this cabin for more than 2 decades.
People love their trees here. The name of the development is Pine Haven. And it was a place to keep the trees and keep them nice.
While the Fords have mitigated some trees around their property, 3 trees still stand tall right next to their cabin. The deck was built around them, and the Fords have no plans to take them down.
They're almost a part of the house, so they'll probably stay until they have some disease issues or something like that.
In fact, when the Fords bought the property, the HOA told them they'd need a permit to cut any tree down. But with more homes built into the wildland-urban interface comes a different train of thought. As massive wildfires like the spring fire threaten more families and values at risk than ever before.
Due to our drought, due to topography, due to the fuel loading, everything that you can imagine that would fuel a massive wildfire is what we have here.
La Vita Fire was one of the first responding agencies when the spring fire jumped the county line. Volunteer firefighter Derek Sokolowski, who also works for the Colorado State Forest Service, saw it happen.
The fire was spotting about anywhere from a half mile to a mile and maybe a little more than a mile out in front of itself, so very extreme fire conditions.
The fire was plume dominated and burning hot and heavy through the crowns of trees, meaning firefighters couldn't get as close as they'd like to protect their own lives as homeowners watched from their closest vantage points they could find. But to the crews in the thick of the firefight, especially structure protection strike teams, one thing was clear. More mitigation could have saved some of the 100-plus structures no longer standing.
When you think about selling prevention, that's a hard sell unless you have an event like this, a catastrophic event that we had.
The La Vita Fire Protection District has 13 fire-wise communities with plenty of room for improvement even at the county level. Huerfano County's Emergency Multi-Hazard Mitigation Plan, released earlier this year, shows the county's commitment to the regulation of projects that would degrade or threaten the existing environmental quality. Projects like mitigation that would prevent ground fuels from leading flames into the crowns of trees, or logging to space out the crowns for a healthier forest. Sokolowski says the evidence from the spring fire shows even basic mitigation would have made a big difference.
The indications of how the fire burned is evident now on looking back at the burn scar, where you can see where active management had been done, the fire effects are lesser than where active management hadn't been done.
That work also gives firefighters the chance to save properties, even during a fire moving in all directions. What was once a tough sell, now viewed by many as a standard homeowner duty that comes with living in the forest as the community and its landscape deal with their new normal.
I think the need was always there. I don't think it impacted that, it made it any difference. It just refocused it. So we'll work harder to do things quicker now.
Now, Chief Detroit tells me his phone has rang essentially nonstop with folks asking for a checkup on their property or even a first mitigation assessment. But this work is expensive. The Fords paid several $1,000s just to cut a handful of trees down, and that's why Huerfano County is currently working to get state and federal grants to help pay for more of that mitigation work. Always watching out for you, Southern Colorado. Sam Kramer, News 5.